I'm really hoping my voice comes back over the next few days. It's just starting to sound a little bit better the longer today goes. But yeah, big sorry for all you guys have to deal with this husky, delightful voice that all the girls love, right? Anyway, the People Squad have made a couple of trades this week, and one of them is a good one, and one I wished we did last week, but that's okay. Warbrick goes to Manu, which is really, really cool. And then Eli Katoa goes to Brandon Smith. So I think really two really solid trades this weekend. What that means is actually we can do some looping. We have Grant and we have Haas in the squad there. Grant's currently sitting in the 4 position. We will use Host as that loop man to start off with in that 5. We obviously have a couple we can loop, guys. So this is what you should be doing on your side. Any of these players that play in the early rounds, obviously Host is one of them. Alamotti is a little bit later in the week, so we'll have to muck around with him. He's the last game, so hopefully he's someone that we can leave out. But if we happen to have some shockers in our interchange there, then Alamotti can just be slotted in and played. Obviously, our bench is not looking great with Grant and Haas both out. There's a lot of cash just sitting on the sidelines there, which means that we shouldn't go as well this week as some other teams that might be selling Payne, Haas or Grant, or only have one of them, or don't have either. Like there's obviously players out there that are in that situation. Not many, but there are a few, and they will go better this week. But holding Grant and Haas, I think, is a good idea because it just gives us that best scorer in the hooking position by far, and then the best mid in the game at the moment. Both obviously expensive, but yeah, these are the weeks where if you do trade them out, you will go better, but then you'll be able to catch up points as a Haas and Grant owner over the next bunch of weeks. Good thing for us is we do have Tanner Boyd, and that allows us to hopefully score pretty well still in that hooking position, has Brandon Smith as some cover. And now we're looking at the squad there, and obviously no clear sort of mid-depth this week, but Couchman and Metal Pasilla could be options in that one, but Haas would come straight into that position next week. Our only edge cover there now, we'll obviously have Ford if we can switch him around week to week, but Host is now our edge cover. So I think guys like Hosking and Preston will probably have to keep a hold of, to be fair, which is an interesting one. We'd obviously have the centres in Lemuelu and Bird, but again, we don't really want to be playing Alamotti on a week-to-week basis. But overall here, I'm expecting a better score anyway out of Walsh this week. Manu comes in, Bird and Lem doing really well. Cleary as captain, sounds like he's good to go for the game now. The new news that has come out over the last hour or so is that Cleary will make the trip to Bathurst and should play, which is good news for us that are looking to captain him. And I think it's a great idea to continue captaining him against the Tigers. Hopefully he does get goal kicking back. It was good to see that he was giving those big bombs and the like there. But yeah, that's where we're at currently in the People Squad. First in the Community Cup, which we should be because we are always the best side. Always rank really well. Not ranked as great this year as previous, but still 3,500 or just under 36 there. 70k in the bank, 22 trades remaining after this week. I think it's great news for us, and I think we're going to be able to make a big push through the bye period there and set ourselves up overall, but obviously put ourselves in a good position in the head-to-head scheme as well. So I still don't think we're going to have a bad week, and obviously if we can get some good scores through our looping options in Host, and potentially Couchman and Metal Pasilla at the end, if we have to play one of those guys, then that could be fine, hopefully. Over that, we'd probably take a 30, to be honest with you, in the People Squad there. So now we move to my team, and it's a lot going on in this one. I have triple traded, and I have not moved from this trade option since thinking about it for about half an hour at the start of the week, which is a little bit different to previous weeks where I've been trying to decide, long into Thursday and still haven't decided by sort of this time on a Thursday. But I have decided to move on from Payne Haas. So this is very situational, and it makes my team this week look absolutely incredible. You look at it now and you go, yeah, I agree, Jamie. Let's go through it as we are. So Payne Haas comes out. The reason I'm doing this is because each week I've been trying to get Jack Bird into my team and I can't do it. He's so expensive now at 688, but he's just so important in that in that center position. If he keeps scoring 60, 55, 60, whatever he's been scoring at the moment, it's just wild that you're 20, 30, 40 points behind if you're playing one of those average centers. And he's a guy that I couldn't get in another way. It was either trade out Murray, which I probably will come around 13, but I just think that with Haas out this week, it means that he does miss 4 over the next sort of 10 games or so and potentially limited minutes. It was the week where I can try and push back up the rankings and really make a push. Yes, there's some risk involved, and I completely agree with that, and I would like to hold him. Obviously, being the best mid, he'll come back next week and bust out an 80 or so. if you can get, really the theory is here, if you can get, I've brought in DeBellin for him, let's just say that, and that banks me 280k, which is great. But if DeBellin can hit a 52, let's just say he's a 52 average from here on out, he does make some cash, that's a win. He plays 13, which Haas doesn't. So there's an improvement there. Over the next bunch of weeks, Haas will score more than DeBellin, most likely. And DeBellin will be able to make that up a little bit in 13, which is good. Obviously, if you were able to get a 12 or 13 on the park and hold Haas, then you're not missing out in that scenario. But using his cash, he's made a fair bit. He's done a great job with that. That's sort of my justification, is that I was likely going to hold Haas, but this extra game off just pushes me over the edge to be able to make the 3 trades that I want to make. Otherwise, I wasn't going to be able to get Bird, and I may have been able to get Brandon Smith, as well as my other man that I ended up bringing in. But yeah, it's just a very interesting one here, what we've decided to do, because Bird finally comes in. So the trade outs at the moment, I can go for Warbrick or Alamotti as a trade out. Currently, I've got Warbrick, but what that does leave me with is next week with Miller out, I will have to bring in a wing fullback unless I'm happy to play Talau, which I'm not. So it's going to be, my general thoughts right now are Buller, Drinkwater as my potential trade-ins. And I think either one of them, Drinkwater comes up against a pretty tough opponent in the Sharks this week. I do want to see him. And if he comes out and scores like a 40, I think that's enough to trade him in next week. Guys like Tavir Totola are also on my radar. So potentially and hopefully later, like close to round 13, probably bring in Totola for Murray. And that would bank some cash for me. But yeah, so the option is either just keep Alamotti and have him as a sort of a better option as a potential looping guy this week, because I have Lioro I can loop with, and then has a little bit of an easier run coming up, and then he's my center cover, especially when Lemuelu is out in round 11, so that's something to think about as well. Manu is my mover, so he can move up and down, which is great. So for that week, Manu could come up, and then I would just have my wing fullback that I bring in next week if I decide to go with Warbrick. And I think that's probably the way. I think Warbrick's more of a sell than Alamotti. He could definitely come out and bust out a few 40s, where Warbrick doesn't get the ball as much as Alamotti does, and hopefully Dogs start to play a little bit better. So that's probably where I'm going to be at. Look, if I did hold on to Warbrick, would I want to play him next week? Probably not. So I think getting a good look at Buller, getting a good look at Drinkwater is going to be helpful. So guys, okay, official. The 3 trade outs: Payne, Haas, Eli Katoa, Will Warbrick. Trade ins: Bird, Smith, and DeBellin. So you get a couple of guys. All of those guys are making money at the moment. They're all going to be worthy scorers in your 17. And now we look at my team, and it's Robson, McInnes, Murray, and Ford. Hosking, Preston, Cleary, Brown, Lemuelu, and Bird. Miller, Manu, Tedesco, Brandon Smith, DeBellin, Johnson, and Isaiah Katoa, looping Alamotti or Murdoch Masila with Trent Lioro, who I do get to keep and get his price rises next week, and he'll be a scorer in my 17 next week, which I think is absolutely great news. Only missing out on Miller next week. I could then loop with Miller and loop between really Jackson Ford and Isaiah Katoa, something like that, unless there is injuries from here. And hopefully I've brought in sort of Scotty Drinkwater in that position there. If not, I can go for a Buller down there as well. So good news overall, because 60k in the bank hopefully means that if Drinky doesn't go too crazy, then he's about that 500k, and I have a bunch of options that I can move to him, either in a straight swap, potentially, or a couple of trades there, which could definitely happen with a bunch of different guys. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment. Look, is it ideal that I have to trade next week? Probably not. And that's where I'm tempted to go for Alamotti just for that just for that reason, and that would give me another 25k in the bank, 85 to potentially move on from someone in next week's game. But overall, heading into round 9, I should really make ranks this week, given that I am trading out Haas and I don't have Harry Grant originally. But if I don't, that would be a very upsetting week, because I am betting the farm on trading out Haas and going for all of these Origin guys. Brandon Smith is now my hooker cover, which I didn't have any before. So Robson and Brandon Smith, which is good. I now have cover through all of the bye period, I believe. Unless it's round 19, might be my only shocker. Is Robson 19? Good question. Maybe 15 and 19 or 15 and 20, I can't remember. But yeah, pretty much all the way through until at least 19, I have hooker cover now. I bring in DeBellin early, and he's going to be my cover for 13 and 14, which is good. Murray will come out in 13, I'd say, for me, which will work out well. I've got plenty of cover in the halves, Edge cover is going to be better as well. Obviously, Ford can play down in the edges if I need to in round 13. And yeah, we'll look to Tavita Totola and those guys as well. McInnes might move on. The centres, we're getting stronger. So Alamotti, Lemuelu, Bird, you have Manu who move up and down as well. Obviously, round 13, not ideal yet, but hopefully next week with a Drinky, we can improve our wing fullbacks and get to a better position there in terms of cover as well. Murdoch Basila, the best cash cow in the land, is making money. Talau is the only one in my team that's an obvious stud at 220k. Alamotti is kind of holding his cash rises and falls now. And really, the rest of the guys are doing a job. So 12.55, I think the team value is. We're set up pretty well. Let me know your thoughts on these trades and if you would do that yourself. As I said, it's very circumstantial as to the trades that you need to make. And for me, I just wasn't going to be able to get to the players that I want to. Even being able to go Katoa straight to DeBellin wasn't going to be able to happen. It would have had to have been a double trade, and like the likely two trades would have been Lioro, who I don't want to trade, and Katoa to DeBellin and Smith. And it's probably all I would have been able to do. Potentially, what could I have done? Actually, I probably could have gone for Smith and Bird I think maybe. It would have been very close, 590, 590. Ooh, maybe not. I actually don't think I would have been able to go Bird and Smith, which would have been the ideal play. So I can't even do that. And I do leave some bank for next week. And then Haas is out, who was obviously going to miss 13, 16, 19. So I'll be able to go better through the bye period on those weeks, obviously. But I won't be having Haas through the other games, which if he plays big minutes in Origin, will he play 45 to 50? If he does that when he plays for Broncos, he'll still score well, right? So I don't think that matters too much. But yeah, that's where the squad's at the moment. Let me know your general thoughts on what you would be doing in my team. I obviously asked for trade help last week, and a few people reached out. Thank you to that. I'd like some more, though. If I do ask, I know I try to help you guys out a lot, but sometimes I need help too. So I'm not perfect, obviously. I ranked just under 800 at the moment. And I appreciate you guys for being here for this condensed week. And if you've watched all the videos, let me know in the comments. And if you watched all the way to the end, please let me know in the comments. I want to give you a big thank you for that. It's because I really appreciate it. See you guys. Have a good week.